You are 20, dressed in a suit that costs more than your rent, standing in a room where geniuses silently bet millions. You think you're smart, but this machine runs on fur. Average doesn't survive. And by the end, you'll realize success costs your entire soul. Section 1, Level 1, The Intern. Welcome to Shadow POV. You are 20 years old. You go to an elite school where the gold embossed name on your diploma dictates your human value before you even step into a classroom. You applied to 40 powerhouse firms. You heard back from 6. You got intensive interviews at 3. You walked away with exactly 1 offer because 1 is all you need to enter a silent meat grinder that will either make you a financial god or completely bury your soul alive. On your terrifying first day, you show up in a stiff, tailored suit that costs significantly more than your monthly apartment rent. You take the elevator up to a high floor that smells heavily of dry cleaning, premium espresso, and raw predatory ambition. The trading floor is deathly quieter than you expected. No one is yelling frantically into phones. No one is throwing crumpled paper. It looks exactly like an expensive library where brilliant minds are silently betting millions of dollars on a screen. Because that is exactly what it is. They sit your desk next to a rival intern from Wharton who already knows every managing director's first name. He speaks a fluent dialect of acronyms you have never heard. You knit like you understand. You don't. You will spend the next 10 brutal weeks pretending to understand macroeconomics until you actually do. That is the entire job. To see how deep the system goes, hit subscribe now. Section 2, Level 2, The Junior Analyst. The handshakes at the end of August disappear like smoke, leaving you with a return offer and a permanent ticket into the abyss. You graduate, you pack your life, and you return to the floor as a full-time junior analyst. The title looks clean on an email signature, but the unwritten rule is brutal. You are the designated engine room slave, tasked with the mind-numbing labor nobody else wants to touch. You arrive at 7:00 a.m. into the cold Manhattan air, and you leave at 9:00 p. or midnight, when the cleaning crew becomes your only company. You are not trading. You are not making investment decisions. You are just raw biomass feeding a machine that never sleeps. You live entirely inside Excel. Your fingers execute complex hotkeys faster than your brain registers them, building massive 40-tab models to project revenue 3 years into an uncertain future. You screen hundreds of stocks using metrics that would bore normal humans to tears. Enterprise value to EBITDA, free cash flow yield, and debt to equity ratios. When your senior analyst hands you a retail stock, you spend 2 weeks dissecting its soul, counting foot traffic outside a store on a rainy Saturday afternoon. You write a flawless investment memo, explaining why the market is dead wrong. The portfolio manager listens for 4 minutes, looks at his screen, and says no. You nod, close the file, and open a blank spreadsheet. You are 23, making more money than your parents ever dreamed of, with 0 time to spend it. Section 3, Level 3, The Analyst. The crushing weight of those endless rejections slowly calcifies your skin, until one morning you realize you have finally earned the right to step into the actual arena. 2 years of trading your life for spreadsheets pass, and the word junior is cleanly stripped from your title. You are a hedge fund analyst now. This is where the real knife fighting begins. And the security blanket of having someone check your work is permanently gone. You own an entire sector, whether it is technology, healthcare, or industrials. You're expected to know more about the 30 companies under your coverage than almost anyone else alive. You build direct, cautious relationships with management teams. You attend high-stakes conferences where CEOs give polished presentations, sitting in the front row with hyper-specific questions designed to deliberately expose what their investor relations departments are hiding. You call aggressive competitors, squeezed suppliers, and bitter former employees. You are building a complex psychological mosaic. Each conversation is a jagged piece. Individually, they mean nothing, but together, they form a proprietary picture of a corporate reality that the broader market has completely missed. You pitch your first real high-conviction idea to the portfolio manager. You have spent a brutal month on it, accumulating 60 pages of deep dive research and a model accounting for 14 different macroeconomic scenarios. You walk into his office and he demands your entire thesis compressed into exactly 2 sentences. You deliver them without blinking. He asks 3 lethal questions. You fire back with cold data, and he calmly deploys $40 million into the trade. Your hands shake back at your desk. Your raw judgment is officially on the line. Section 4, Level 4, the Senior Analyst. The terrifying rush of surviving your first $40 million bet leaves a permanent mark on your psyche, stripping away the remaining traces of junior-level anxiety and forcing you to look at the trading floor through the eyes of a predator. 2 years of navigating that volatile edge pass, and you are officially promoted to senior analyst. You run a small, hungry cell now, with 2 fresh junior analysts and a research associate reporting directly to your desk. You divide sector coverage, hand down the brutal modeling tasks, and return their hard work dripping with the same unvarnished red ink your mentors once used on you. Not sharp enough. Rethink these basic margin assumptions. Run the catastrophic downside case again. As a designated sector head, the portfolio manager no longer bypasses you. When a major corporate earnings report drops, his direct line calls your cell phone at midnight. You answer with the cold, hyper-detailed confidence of someone who has bled over these balance sheets for 5,000 hours. You know, being wrong costs millions, and being wrong repeatedly kills your career. You manage the delicate, transactional relationship with sell-side investment banking analysts who feed you endless stock pitches. 90% of it is recycled consensus dressed up in premium formatting, but you greedily extract the rare, valid data points while giving absolutely nothing back. You buy the quiet Manhattan apartment and wear an expensive, deeply understated watch. No flashy gear success here is entirely silent. Section 5, Level 5, the portfolio manager. The deafening silence of commanding your own elite cell and controlling the data flow marks the exact moment you transition from a pure researcher into an actual risk taker. You got your bug? That is the heavy phrase whispered on the trading floor when you finally ascend to the inner sanctum of the fund. You have a direct pool of capital allocated explicitly to your name. Maybe it is $200 million. Maybe it is $500 million, depending entirely on the firm's total assets and how much raw faith the chief investment officer has in your central nervous system. You are now a portfolio manager, the PM. You build a complex portfolio completely from scratch, deciding exactly what to buy, what to short, and precisely how much capital to deploy into each battle. You decide when to ruthlessly cut a bleeding loser and when to let a winner run wild. Every decision is entirely yours. Every gain goes to your ledger. Every catastrophic loss is your personal fault. There is no one left to blame, and there is no one to share the credit with. This is the purest, most Tanhan meritocracy on earth. Your professional value is reduced to a single flashing number on a terminal every afternoon, visible to the entire firm. Your analysts bring you hot pitches, and you aggressively tear their theses apart, hunting for the fatal flaw. You want to kill the idea first before the market does it for you. Sizing is everything. A brilliant idea with a weak capital allocation is a wasted opportunity. A mediocre idea with too much size is a corporate disaster. You check your P&L every morning before your feet hit the floor. You're up $1 million before breakfast, or down $2 million because an overnight headline in Asia crushed your position while you slept. The volatility is relentless. The stress is no longer about the long hours. It is the suffocating weight of risking real, permanent capital. Section 6, Level 6, the senior portfolio manager. That suffocating weight of protecting your capital doesn't kill you. Instead, it forces you to completely deaden your nerves until the raw chaos of the market feels as natural as breathing. Your track record holds up over 3 years of consistent, risk-adjusted returns. Not spectacular, just brutally consistent. In this cutthroat industry, consistent is spectacular. Anyone can have a lucky year. A monkey throwing random darts at a wall can look like a genius in a massive bull market. The hedge funds that survive are simply the ones that manage not to blow up. You haven't blown up, and that single fact separates you from half the portfolio managers who started alongside you. Your book is much bigger now, a cold $1 billion. You manage a dedicated cell of elite analysts and an execution trader who handles your large market orders. You are essentially a highly profitable small business operating inside a large institution. The fund takes its cut, you take yours. Pull in an 8-figure personal payout in a good year. You spend your time in glass conference rooms, giving polished presentations to global allocators and sovereign wealth funds. You talk extensively about your strict risk framework, smoothly hiding the memory of the brutal 2022 drawdown that almost destroyed you. Internal politics intensify as you compete fiercely against other PMs down the hall for the CIO's capital allocation. Less capital means the firm is losing faith. Every quarterly review feels like a criminal trial, making you deeply afraid of losing the empire you built. Section 7, Level 7, the Director of Research. The crushing fear of losing your hard-earned empire forces you to make a choice: either stay on the front lines until the stress finally breaks you, or step back to weaponize the collective intelligence of the entire firm. The management asks you to step into an executive leadership role as the director of research. You now oversee the entire intellectual platform of the fund, filtering every analyst, sector head, and structural thesis that flows into the master portfolios. You no longer manage a personal book. You shape the engine of the entire multi-billion-dollar enterprise. Hiring talent becomes your most critical function. One great analyst generates 50 million in absolute profit, while one bad hire burns capital and wastes an entire year of the team's valuable time. You interview elite candidates from Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley who look identical on paper. Your exact job is to isolate the rare anomaly who thinks differently, seeing the human narratives that strict mathematical models fail to capture. You build a culture of productive friction and extreme intellectual honesty, demanding analysts who can look you in the eye and say, "I was wrong," without flinching. Sitting in on every portfolio review, you spot hidden patterns, like when two PMs accidentally take opposite sides of the exact same trade. You miss the raw adrenaline of the tape, but you are now the invisible architect of the fund's survival. Section 8, Level 8, the Chief Investment Officer. Becoming the invisible architect of the platform's survival changes your perspective completely, shifting your focus from managing human talent to mastering the sheer architecture of systemic threat. You are promoted to the absolute pinnacle of the investment hierarchy. Chief Investment Officer, the CIO. Every single dollar the fund deploys now flows directly through your personal risk framework. You set the firm's hard risk limits, approve macroeconomic strategies, and allocate capital across the portfolio managers. You are the final, definitive decision on the biggest bets the fund makes. You manage risk at the fund level, not individual stock positions, staring at the aggregate exposure of a massive multi-billion-dollar portfolio. What happens if interest rates spike 100 basis points overnight? What happens if a major geopolitical conflict breaks out and China invades Taiwan? What happens if a critical counterparty suddenly fails? You run brutal stress tests modeling catastrophic scenarios that people think are impossible until they actually happen. You talk to the legendary founder every single day, acting as his right hand on investments. The tension is highly productive when it works, and completely destructive when it fails. You have seen CIOs fired for disagreeing with the founder one too many times, and others fired for being yes men who failed to stop an impending disaster. The line is entirely invisible, and it moves constantly. You stop having casual human conversations because a single leaked comment about a sector can move international markets. You are isolated, pulling tens of millions annually, known across the industry, yet completely alone. Section 9, Level 9, the Managing Partner. The hollow isolation of moving global markets with a single whispered word breaks something inside you, turning you away from the chart completely and dragging you into the cold reality of enterprise survival. You step into the ultimate corporate machine as the managing partner. You are no longer just an investor. You are a business operator steering a massive multi-billion-dollar sovereign enterprise. The job is a relentless matrix of capital raising, global investor relations, strict legal compliance, regulatory filings, fee structures, and sprawling tech infrastructure. You manage billions, not millions, commanding a staggering $15 billion in assets under management. That single number dictates your entire daily reality. The economics are massive but deeply fragile. Your fixed 2% management fee brings in $300 million a year before a single trade is made, and a solid 12% return generates an extra $300 to $60 million in performance cuts. Yet, you live in terror of the death spiral. One bad year triggers a wave of institutional redemptions, shrinking your asset base, slashing fee revenue, and causing your rockstar portfolio managers to walk out. You spend half your life flying to Zurich, Abu Dhabi, and Hong Kong, sitting in boardrooms with sovereign wealth allocators who control more wealth than entire nations. You smile, present the numbers, and manage that deep anxiety knowing the entire empire could vanish in less than 18 months. Section 10. Level 10. The founder. Managing the deep structural anxiety of elite global entities slowly changes your baseline, peeling away the operational metrics until you are left standing face to face with the original ghost that started the machine. You built this entire empire brick by brick. 25 years ago, you sat inside a cramped, rented office with 2 analysts and a single Bloomberg terminal. You possessed exactly $50 million from early investors who trusted your edge before anyone else cared. Some were colleagues, some were close friends, and one was your father-in-law. You looked them in the eye and promised to beat the market. The third year, you lost 4%, and 3 institutional allocators immediately pulled their capital. You learned a brutal lesson. People love you when you make them rich. They vanish like ghosts the second you don't. You kept going anyway. The funds swell from $50 million to a targeted $15 billion institutions, and each additional zero completely altered your psychological reality. Now, you are a legend in your late 50s with a 9-figure net worth and your name carved deeply into the glass door. You own residential estates in Manhattan and Aspen, donating millions to elite museums. Yet, you still sit in this room completely alone at 6:00 a.m., staring at a bleeding red screen that says you just lost $200 million, calmly deciding what to do next. The market is the ultimate test. It doesn't care about your past trophies or your famous name. It tests your mind brand new every single morning. Somewhere in a dark college dorm room right now, a 20-year-old kid skips a party to read a dense corporate 10K filing. He has no idea he is walking directly into your shoes. This intense journey through the hyper-realistic pipeline of corporate power leaves a chilling, undeniable truth bare. The ultimate cost of ascending any elite system is always personal identity. From the frantic, sleep-deprived discipline of a 20-year-old intern to the vast, isolated fortress of a multi-billion-dollar founder, the machine functions flawlessly because it demands raw biomass as fuel. It systematically replaces your authentic relationships, your weekends, and your sanity with a flashing green and red scoreboard that resets itself every single morning. You traded your family's birthdays for complex corporate valuation models. You traded genuine human connection for understated luxury timepieces and absolute icy conviction. The deep psychological paradox of this elite financial world is that the apex predators aren't driven by a cartoonish desire for luxury, but by a profound, trembling terror of being utterly ordinary. When you finally carve your name into the glass door of a $15 billion institution, you realize you have built a massive sovereign empire on a foundation of total isolation. The market serves as the ultimate tanhan meritocracy because it systematically strips away yesterday's trophies, leaving an old soul staring completely alone at a bleeding terminal at 6:00 a.m. The deep lesson for our lives today is simple. Choose your arena with extreme caution, because whatever system you feed will eventually consume you. True high performance requires a rare psychological ability to separate your personal value from external metrics. To survive without breaking, you must define your boundaries early, intentionally protect your human connection, and ensure that the price you're paying for success isn't the one staying. You can never buy back your soul. What is the biggest personal sacrifice you think is worth making to achieve absolute career success? Please share your thoughts in the comments section below so we can discuss. And remember to subscribe to the channel to support our upcoming deep dives.